asked him, so what had he done? And so I was encouraging him to like, be active on Together Spatial. And so he joined, but he's just even never done anything. And that's the biggest thing, I guess, about any social media platform. It's not about people trying to find you. It's about you being visible to people. So, yeah. So, all right. I'll just adjust a couple of things on my screen. Welcome, Mary. So one person come in, and I'll just move the chat. All right, we'll get going in I'll give it another minute for anyone wanting to come in. It's being recorded, so if people can watch it afterwards anyway.
Yeah, cool.
Kick it off anyway. So, so welcome everyone to another edition of Points, Lines and Polygons through Together Spatial. So today's guest is Jack Green, all the way over in the West. So is it mid-morning there for you?
Yeah, 10 o'clock, yeah.
10 o'clock, nice. So for those who haven't joined before, it's essentially a conversation which we'll have with Jack today. But if you have any questions at any point, you can either put them in the chat, and if we have some time at the end, we'll have a question session where you can ask Jack or myself any questions you want for today. So Jack's here as a bit of his bio. 20 years in the spatial industry. Now over in the West, working for mining company, gold mining company.
Yep.
And do you get to take any samples home?
Yeah, no, not at the current price, definitely not.
All right. So, you'd think they'd just give you some every now and then, that'd be the perks of, like, I do know that, like, when I worked at APA, they would give you shares. A bit hard to give you gas, but they would give you shares. I'm sure that probably happens. All right. So let's kick it off. So welcome, Jack. Really just wanted to sort of, initially just see where you started in the spatial industry, what sort of studies you did, take us as far back as you want, and then we'll sort of, work our way to the present time from there.
Yep. All right. I can go back to the very beginning if you really want.
Sure. Yep.
Like most people in high school, had absolutely no idea what I wanted to do with myself. Was pretty good at I guess school, in a sense that I was good enough to be able to go to uni, but I didn't know what I wanted to do. And back then they actually gave you a book, like, so you could flick through and see all the different courses that were available to do, and just flicking through things. And I was good at maths and problem solving. My favorite subject was probably geography, and stumbled across this new degree that hadn't really been around for very long at the time. This is back in 1999, this thing called Geographic Information Science. So I thought, oh, that looks interesting, I'll give that a go. And I guess that's kind of how I fell into, the space in the first place, was just, flicking through a book and ended up doing just the actual straight up GIS degree. So I think a lot of people in the industry have come from, geology or environmental science or other sort of backgrounds, usually a lot of time to get here. But mine was sort of the original kind of just straight up GIS with nothing else. So, yeah.
And which uni did you study that
at? Curtin in WA, yeah.
All right.
Yep.
So And was that like a 3-year degree?
Yeah, it was. Yep. I stretched it out to 4 years.
Right.
By not passing a couple of things early days, but mainly the night sessions. I wasn't a big fan of 7:30 p.m. lectures, so I didn't pay a lot of attention or didn't attend some of those. So, but that was a bit of the high school early on kicking in. But yeah, I got knuckled down towards the end and did it properly. So yeah,
Nice.
yeah.
My son managed to turn a 3-year degree into a 7-year degree through lack of interest mostly, and then changing his mind to do all that sort of stuff. So it can happen, but that's well done.
Yeah.
And so from uni, where did you then head or take your career?
Yeah, I mean, it was probably the most difficult thing back then was finding a job. There wasn't actually a huge amount going in the space. Probably took me a good 4 or 5 months of applying and reapplying and applying somewhere else and getting the odd interview here and there and that kind of thing. Eventually, I ended up getting in through somebody I went to uni with. They had where they were working, just had some short-term casual sort of contract work. It was at CSBP, which is the fertilizer company, making just maps of farms. So part of their package deal that year was selling, you buy this much fertilizer, we'll give you a free map of your farm kind of thing. My job was to work with the farmers and digitize all their paddocks and all that kind of stuff, which they could use for then sort of loading into their different fertilizer systems and tractors and all that kind of gear, so they knew where they were going. So I was pretty lucky to land that in the end. It's always the hardest part, I think, with anyone coming out of uni is getting your foot in the door to start with. So that kind of helped. Wasn't there for a huge amount of time, just under 12 months. And then I actually got into working with, changes its name a lot, but it was CALM at the time, which became Department of Environment and Conservation, which I think is now Department of Parks and Wildlife or something like that. The standard state government, every time the politicians change their minds, they rebrand it or whatever it is. But and I got in there through a job that I applied for with them previously. So I'd actually applied for a job in Geraldton, which I didn't get, which I was kind of glad about. And then, I got offered these sort of short-term contracts in the Perth office. So initially sort of a 3-month contract, which then became a 6-month contract and then got into a full-time role. So that was really good. So I got to spend sort of 4 years at that organisation, state government. So I think that was a really nice kind of softer introduction, I guess, into working professionally. Really enjoyed my time there. That was a pretty cool place to work. You get a free national park pass when you work there. So I got to see a few nice places. Got to do a little bit of travel. That's probably where I first got involved in, I guess, the training side of things. So part of our deal was the graduate recruit program they had there. So one of the really nice things with that was each year there's a new bunch of graduate recruits come in, generally sort of environmental scientists, rangers, those sorts of people. And we got to basically the recruitment centre was out in Dwellingup, which was really nice. So you got to go out there every year for a week and run through a bunch of GIS training with them. And then we got to go to the regional centres as well. So pop down and go to Manjimup and all those sorts of places as well, and do a bit of training in those as well. So it's one of the I guess the perks of my career that I wasn't expecting was the amount of, I guess, travel I'd get to do with it. So that was certainly a nice sort of introduction to that part of it. So yeah.
And what was the main focus of that role over those sort of 4 years? Was it sort of an analysis? Was it sort of map making? Was it a combination?
Yeah, it sort of evolved. So initially it was, I guess, in more just the map mapping support, a lot of support. So supporting a lot of the other users in how to use it. I then sort of moved into more of a development role. So building some of the tools that we're using. It was sort of early days we just sort of switched to like just 8 point something, whatever it was, I think back then. So VBA was the scripting language. I'd sort of self-taught myself a little bit of that when I was at CSBP. I built a couple of little plugins and stuff there to make those repetitive tasks a bit easier. So I dove into that, and part of that was working with the fire section at that department. So any national park, the fire is run by that agency rather than the DFIS over here. So one of the things we had was a set of tools for situational mapping for those fires. So I got to work on sort of developing and bringing those along. Also got to go to some of those situations as well. So that was actually really interesting. So I think it was sort of early days when I was there. I got to go out to, there was a big fire in Mundaring in the Perth Hills. So seeing how they're actually fighting a fire, looking at the data, that was one of the really cool parts of that actually was we had access to like all the fire scar data and the prescribed burns and all the rest of it. It's that thing that everybody always complains about in Perth. Every year when they do prescribed burns in the hills, it creates this lovely smoky haze over the city. Everyone cracks it. They don't. It's the end of the world because it's smoky and all the rest of it. I actually saw this fire had been running for nearly 2 weeks. They were struggling, and it hit a patch that had been prescribed burn like 3 years earlier, and that was the catalyst to basically be able to get it under control. And we could see it coming because we had the data there for it. So that was really cool. So that was one of those sort of GIS applications that you don't always think about, but that was a really cool thing.
Yeah, and then I guess it because you've got the data to then go, well, this is why it stopped or slowed down, or or gave us a spot to fight it better or whatever. You can and that was because you had the GIS data. So
yeah, exactly. I mean, that's the thing. We were printing these big giant AO0 plots and stuff, and then the planners that are there, they're looking at it, they're going, cool, what's a westerly breeze, it's blowing this way, well, it's going to hit this shortly. We know it's going to slow down, so this is our chance to get in behind it, do this, all those sorts of things. So yeah, and it worked. So yeah, very cool.
Yeah, we moved to Tassie about 4 years ago now, and where we're living, not the summer just gone, but the summer before, there was a fire a couple of ridges over, and it was probably the slowest bushfire I have ever seen. We constantly had helicopters flying over, doing water bombing and all that sort of stuff, and I'd be watching them, both on the online maps and outside. But it was in a really hard area for them to get to. But there was almost no wind, and it just kept slowly burning, and they just couldn't put it out. I'm just going, whereas where I'd come from before that in Adelaide, whenever I was in both the MFS and the CFS over there, and bushfires would just run really quick, because it'd be a breeze behind them, and terrain was dry and all that sort of stuff. So it was a real contrast, but it also did show, when you have that data behind it, that the GIS team can, feed into and provide, it just adds to the value of being able to fight those natural disasters, because, you can't prove where they're going to, or you can't plan where they're going to start or end and all that sort of stuff.
Yep.
Cool. All right. So you spent sort of 4 years there, and then where did you end up after that?
Yeah, so I think I got to that stage where I wanted to, I guess, keep learning. So I'd sort of got to the point where I was, probably getting a bit too comfortable in that role, and it was getting a bit easy. So, and then it was very new days of, I guess, web mapping in that sense, and a lot of sort of the Esri product side of things. So there was an opportunity. I took up a consulting role based on, I guess, the coding and the application stuff that I'd built there. Got a role as a developer for Esri in the Perth office.
Oh, yeah.
So that was my favorite thing about that was I got the magical USB thumb drive that gave me, all of the software that I'd never been able to use anywhere else because it was so expensive. So you could play around with all the web stuff. You could, use all of the functionality. It was, all the extensions. It was great fun. And yeah, so I sort of sat in that role, and that was, I guess, very, very, very much that, strongly kind of development role. So it was very much, you're handed jobs to do and all that kind of thing. I sort of enjoyed the learning component of that. I think I missed the human part of it. So I guess, I'd enjoyed the training part and the helping people and all that sort of thing. This was a little bit more kind of a little bit not quite what I wanted. So I then went from there. I was only there for a year, and someone that I'd worked with previously at CALM basically had moved to NGIS as well, and they basically said, "Oh, we've got a job going here, which will be that." And the way they sold it was exactly that. It was that hybrid of, you're going to be doing a bit of developing, it's consulting. So you're going to do everything, we need to do this, we need to do that, we need to do that, need to wear all the hats. So I was like, oh, that seemed like the logical kind of next step to I guess kind of grow and learn as much as I could. So that's when I sort of jumped across to there and sort of got stuck in. So that was a good experience at Esri, but I think the role was just a little bit I don't want to say it badly, but a little bit too nerdy for me. I still needed to have that bit of kind of human interaction just to keep me going. So
and I guess it's probably the difference between a biggish consult, like if you want to put Esri into that consulting software sort of umbrella, it's that difference in you end up getting more pigeonholed and going, all right, this is your job, as opposed to, a small to medium consulting like NGIS, although they've grown and continued to grow, where you're going to be doing bits of everything, with different clients and all that sort of stuff. So it is actually good. I mean, I did some work with NGIS a long time ago as well, and certainly have crossed paths with them quite regularly on different projects. I did a project only a couple of years ago with Land Services South Australia, and they'd won a project for Landgate, and a couple of the people that we had on the project were from NGIS. So they were FME developers and stuff like that. And they were really good and doing all their different stuff. So how long did you spend with NGIS?
Yeah, so I did a couple of stints. So the first stint was that magical 4 years again. And in that time, I really pushed heavily, I guess, across into the training space while I was there in those first 4 years. Ended up sort of running all of the training within NGIS as part of that. So building all the training materials and obviously delivering all that training stuff along the way. Part of that was also, we got some really good opportunities with, I guess, just not your standard training. So there was some good government sort of fund grants and stuff floating around at different stages back then. So I mean, one of the things we did was working with the equivalent of like a Department of Mines, but within different African countries. So we won this project to basically fly for a month, fly a whole bunch of people across from different nations, put them up in Perth, and then give them like a 4-week crash course in how mining works in Australia a little bit. So part of that was just GIS training, so taking them through all the different software and how we use it, and a bit of a mix, so not being very targeted to one particular bit of software. So there was the Esri, but we showed them a bit of the open source, Google Earth, all that sort of stuff.
Halfway through Peter's webinar. I'm Steve. Go Steve. I think.
No, that's all right. We won't have to.
What are we doing? Exploding cat.
Figure out how I can do that.
It's only a month old. The people who replaced you. Oh, you're onto it.
Sorry about that. I don't know how to actually mute someone.
Knew it was dodgy, although they couldn't get the grab screw properly in.
Peter, can you hear us, Peter?
Lasted 3 weeks.
Peter, can you put yourself on mute?
That sounds like an excuse for workmanship.
Yeah, right. I'm not sure if it's a tag or what.
Okay.
Because I know it's a pressure reduction valve. So it's
we had huge
would have been able to.
because we had too high pressure.
Yeah.
So they put like cut out barrels and all sorts. Oh, here we are.
I
That's
don't
what,
know, the bloody.
that's what they did. Last time, including a new posh tap that didn't last.
Maybe kick him off or something.
Click on participants and you should be able to mute as owner. Yeah, I thought that I could do that.
What? You
Thanks
guys
for
are
the advice,
do a
Mary.
good job, but you're not cheap, hey?
Didn't seem to get it. All right, we'll just kick on, and hopefully
would
Peter
work
will
out,
mute
but-
himself
but
when he
we're very happy with everything
gets
else.
back.
That's we rely on products. And
Always
Yeah.
the
Indeed.
fun things
We
about
suspected
live
this the product. There were a couple of
webinars.
isolation taps there, which came from the tap before which we got put in 3 years
One of
ago.
Where I was.
One of the things I did.
What I'm going to do is a band-aid fix. I
Really?
want them to replace it.
Oh yeah.
But
Okay.
for now,
Yeah.
I just want to get it so it doesn't.
Yeah,
blow up,
that would be good.
and they come back and replace it.
Oh, okay. So
I'm going to say that's the tap.
I know.
It's not us as such. It's
no,
the product itself.
we pretty much strongly suspect, and it's really similar to what happened with the previous one.
Which was the same.
Same, so
I can't even turn them off.
They like we're like.
All right.
With a similar failure.
Again, it wasn't me.
Is it easier to like end the meeting and rejoin it or something? Will that kick him off?
Right.
I'm just trying to think.
Yeah.
Rather than whatever.
Yeah. Well, if someone's coming back, that's a possibility, but we don't know what we don't know.
Yeah.
Like it's in the tap.
I don't know.
Yeah.
But they won't let me take one.
That's okay.
Oh, okay.
All right. So sorry about that, Jack. So I do remember.
Even the last one was put in was like within warranty because it's already a couple of years old since we've got it.
Peter,
Peter,
can you hear us? Peter.
So the first one lasted 2 years. Second one lasted 3 weeks.
But
We're
because
thinking
you've got the pressure reduction valve on
now. Yeah. It's definitely not. Even earlier, it wasn't.
It's far too loud, isn't it?
But it could have been a query.
Got me here is everything. I'm there, qualified builder, plumber, gas fitter,
Ah, right. Oh, you can.
electrical, air.
Hey, can you take the lead off Rick while you're here?
I'm not. I don't come here playing games.
No.
But no, the first picture I took.
Yeah.
All right. Let's just try and push on.
First picture I took. Which you got it.
Yeah.
So
if it was my house,
I do remember a project I did in East Timor, and NGIS provided the licenses for all of the
decays on the study side of the house.
Yeah.
for
But again, I'm
the
not coming
software
here for all of
for that project.
Yeah,
It was
but it
a
was the
project
first thing
with
that I
the Department of
we're a little bit
Agriculture
tied up with the neighbour. The neighbour said he's
in
getting
East
in
Timor.
some useful
So,
person, but doesn't get around to it. We meant to do it at the same time.
yeah.
So I could get up there with a broom and make it look tidy.
So after NGIS, where did you end up?
Not
up then?
properly there. I was standing on the
Yeah,
ground
so
for a while.
after that kind of like little 4-year stint,
yeah, you're looking at
I
like
think
800.
I think I just needed a bit of
for you
a
guys.
change of scenery.
Oh yeah, okay.
I took a FIFO
Oh, right,
job
because
in Queensland just to mix things up a little bit. And went and worked on it was one of the coal seam gas projects over there. So basically providing like the in-field support for I guess all of the operations. So dealing with I guess the data
these problems.
was going on.
Okay.
I'm going to get some tools and just have a bit of a play.
Okay. Yeah.
So that was like a bit of a reset. I think I'd sort of got to the stage of I'd burnt myself out maybe a little bit too much in consulting and gone a little bit too trying to do too much.
So you're an everything fixer.
So then went over there, became I guess the
okay. You're the problem
small
fixer.
cog again in a big wheel just to
right. Okay. Even problems.
Reset the brain a little bit.
If we were to get our roof done, we would.
And I use that as an opportunity to sort of
it's been a long time since anyone
on the East Coast, so
lost the
Queensland.
solar panels. Is that part of what
down
you
to
did?
Sydney, went to Melbourne, those sorts of things in the time off. As
Okay.
part of that, I'd always sort of really enjoyed Melbourne and want to move there.
I can do whatever you want.
And an opportunity that came up. I was still in contact with the people at NGIS. And I was starting the Sydney office.
Yeah, around.
And they needed someone to sort of
around
provide
$800, he said.
I guess the support, a bit of an all-rounder to support.
A lot more expensive than handy.
The salesy BD guy that was going to be there. And I said, can I do it from Melbourne? At the same time zone, that sort of thing. And they agreed that sounded like a good idea. So obviously, being the only person, you work from home for those sorts of things. But So that got me back into NGIS, but on the East Coast.
Yeah.
And with that, I guess the interesting thing was you got a whole bunch of different jobs, like different clients, different.
No, not too long. Yeah, that's
WA is very obviously
12 years.
resource mining focused,
Did you
and
build
a
it?
bit of
It's
sort of
15.
state government
Oh,
as
no,
well.
so it turns out it's 15.
But then
16.
being in Melbourne, we sort of got those different clients.
Oh, yeah.
So
Oh,
did
look,
work with sort of
I'm not
MFB,
keeping up, sorry.
the fibre grade there.
Yeah.
Worked with the
Oh,
AFL
yeah.
for a little bit as well, which was really interesting in some of their
Yeah.
community development space. And then some different clients in Sydney and that kind of thing as well.
Right, yeah. Sort of,
This is really hard to talk through, but
it was a very good building. We got on the building.
one of the other things
he
was
built the
a really good
property
opportunity
over the
came up with
and we had to deal with him
Office of
over
Environment and
the
Heritage
fence.
in New South Wales.
We decided he was better than the one
again,
we
it was
done
through
this,
the
so we
training
used
concept.
it.
So
And it was
got to build
remarkably
and
good.
develop their entire GIS training package.
Overseeing builder.
And then deliver it.
Although
regional
I've got to
centres.
say,
So I got
he
to
employed
see a lot of
rather
regional New South Wales, which was really interesting. So that was a really nice little job. And yeah, the AFL one was pretty cool just because obviously AFL is a little bit more interesting for a mining company.
And we had problems with the
so yeah,
carpet.
worked with them.
We kind of like knew exactly what carpet
Yeah,
we
that
wanted, and
was
he was
actually
dealing with
really,
a
interesting
small
part of my career, like just getting to play with different ways of using the data.
near
It's
where
not just
the Cooper's
the usual.
Plains
So,
railway crossing is.
The Orange Grove Road there.
Yeah, you just pour Orange Grove Road. It's just in the back of those turned out.
If I
Oh, you're
can.
kidding.
Peter,
Oh,
Peter, can you hear us? Peter,
I'm my first rodeo, Peter.
Peter, Peter.
Yeah, but what was happening was this thicker small carpet wholesale.
he's taking his headphones out, obviously, and then I think that's what's unusual.
Terminal disease, and so
these are good fences.
At the very last minute, we discovered
I can't even kick him. I can't even kick him off.
They don't want anyone cut them. They don't want it's all this new.
Yeah.
Lead poisoning to asbestos to silica to
all those things.
Yeah.
That one little
I wonder if he's got a code.
But this one little tool is not a Bunnings little tool.
It's a special tool.
German ingenuity, you know.
Because the other powers had something like this, but it possibly wasn't as good as your tool.
No, as I say, when you're doing, and you believe it or not, these are probably about 20 years old. I look after my stuff. They look after me.
Okay. And
healthy workhorse.
So it was the fact that it's got a little point on the end, was
correct.
Because
it gets a bit deeper, isn't it?
Normally, I'd be up to try.
And was it just a very poor quality threading?
I think it's just come unloose during packaging.
I apologise for that. I'm going to have to. Peter did it last time as well. I'm going to have to.
Did you really?
So.
Okay.
That's impressive.
If it does explode, we know.
If it does it again, I'm going to be saying, come with a new cap, replace the whole cap.
Choose that type of style before we get call you guys in. From Bunnings.
No,
don't buy it, but choose it. Okay. So we've got
this is quality. It's just unfortunately it's that rock through. That's all.
And so it's got 10 years to fail, and because it's a 10-year warranty. Oh, okay. So what about all that problem with the roof? Which is our next biggest problem.
All right, let's try and
that was before I
push on
the panels. Yeah.
I really apologize. I guess given where we are, so how did you end up where you are now, and what are some of the sort of the focuses of what you're doing right now? You know, your career's come a long way. You've done, you know, a whole bunch of, you know, everything from that consulting through to, you know, government, and now you're working for a resource company. So
yeah, I guess so I came back to Perth through NGIS as well. So I moved back and moved back to the Perth office, and then did another 4 years here as part of that. Then opportunity came up with it wasn't a miner like I am at now. It was a exploration company, but it was a little bit different. So they were trying to. It was going back to open source, so everything was QGIS rather than the Esri world, which had sort of been, I guess, where I've been for a lot of it. And so that presented another great new challenge, I thought. So I jumped across. We ran a combination of QGIS with FME and tried to do like a whole bunch of different stuff around prospectivity analyses and all sorts of different things like that, which was really cool. And also just, linking, bringing drilling data in and all that sort of stuff, but using QGIS. And again, got to build a bunch of plugins in that space, which was kind of cool. How I ended up here is we got sort of good enough that we got bought. So one of the big miners bought us out. So I've ended up sort of just being absorbed in that kind of space. So now where I am is it's a bit of a hybrid. So the exploration arm in this company is still staying with QGIS, and they like that kind of space. But the production part where all the mining is an Esri world. Yep. And so they've had a lot of troubles in here trying to maintain, obviously, lots of systems, and they didn't have FME. So one of the cool things has been I've sort of come in, I guess, as that FME expert of, all right, well, now let's go, all right, well, how do we actually stop you doing all these repetitive, mundane tasks for 2 different systems? Yeah. Let's start to automate as much of this as we possibly can. So, so it's another new challenge again, which has been great. So, I guess that seems to be the theme of what I do. I get to a point where if I get a little bit too bored, then I'll just go and find something new and interesting to sort of challenge myself. So, yeah.
And has there been, obviously with that, combination of open source and commercial, has the direction been, all right, let's create a central repository where people can grab that data from and use whatever visual tool they want, or has it been sort of separating the data and letting them do what they do and what the production guys do?
Yeah, we're basically designing it now, so we haven't really really nutted it out, but the idea would be to have it as one source of truth. I think most of the maintenance in terms of the main data sets is done in that sort of that Esri world still. So the idea that becomes the core repository. And then from there, we can kind of just push it out. So, and part of that is pushing it out to sites. So you remove a bit of that latency and all that kind of stuff as well. And for different field applications. So there's the Esri stuff, but then they also want to be able to use, QField and Mergent and all those sorts of other ones as well in the exploration space. So being able to kind of, push data into lots of different places, but us still being in control of it, which is, the important part.
And did you find, because one of the things I often say to people is, the underlying technology around GIS is the same. You got points, lines, and polygons. That's hence the name of this webinar. And it doesn't really matter whether that's related to mining or an environmental project or a utility or whatever. So did you find that that change from or that change into that resource side difficult, or was it just a change of mindset of the types of data you were doing and how it wanted to be visualized and stuff like that?
Yeah, I think the hardest thing usually is most of the time, the data is not friendly. It's coming from another system, or it's being formatted from different ways, or people just love to use Excel spreadsheets for stuff still and things like that. So I think the biggest challenge is always just like taking the time to stop for a second and then just realize that, all right, let's just look at where is the actual source of truth for this data? What format is it coming in? Like, where does it actually need to get to? And then once you sort that part of it out, the visualization part becomes easier then. I think the biggest issue is people try and jump to the end too quickly, and then you end up trying to build this thing that looks amazing on the front, but your data is just in an absolute mess in the back end and you're spending forever trying to maintain it. If you can find a way to minimize the handling of the data in the back end, regardless of what it is, where it's coming from, it doesn't really matter. It's being innovative enough with solutions. Over East, I was working, one of the projects was on Eastlink, which was like one of the toll roads, and we had to pull data and get it into this other asset management system product and then push it back in and all the rest of it. And it was like, the only, IT stuff we were allowed access to was like Google Drive. It's like, oh, well, I guess we're using Google Drive to sync the data, and that's like, how do we do that? So it's just, it's being creative enough, I think, in our space to solve problems, there's no one magical GIS package, there's no one magical database format. It's just, you have to be able to be flexible and, choose the right thing for the right environment. Too many people get very much like, oh, I'm very much just open source, or I'm very much just, Esri sort of commercial software. It's like, well, depends what you're doing, like there's always a case for both of those. And if you can find the right solution, regardless, I mean, that was the nice thing about consulting, is that, you sort of become a bit software agnostic. It's like, well, what's the best solution? So, and try and apply that into a commercial environment now where, they've been under one umbrella for so long. It's nice to come in with a fresh set of eyes and say, well, you don't have to do it that way. We can also do it this way,
Yeah, and I think that's great advice because, so many projects these days that you've got to do something with the data, and then you've then got to analyze it somehow, and then you've got to visualize it somehow. And one system may not be the right thing for every part of that. And so I'm a big believer of things like, let the database do what the database does. So do as much processing and cleansing of data in the database where you can. That's not to say the GIS can't do that, but the GIS has that overhead, the visual overhead, whereas, a database, it doesn't often. And then, just have, use the tools that are going to make the project work better for everyone. So, I think that's really good sort of advice on how to bring those projects together. And so obviously in your current role, does that give you a bit more autonomy to sort of drive that sort of direction on where you're going and how you're going to do it?
Yeah, it does a little bit. I think one of the things that people like or don't like when I come into a place like this is I do ask why a lot, and I think that's a really important thing to do. So there was we do it this way, and I'm like, but why? It's like, well, because that's what we're allowed to do. I'm like, well, has anyone actually gone and spoken to like IT and asked whether or not we can have a server over here that does this, And they're like, oh no, we're not allowed to do that. And so then it's sort of like, well, I'll make a use case for it, build the business case. It's like, let's do it this way. Now all of a sudden you don't have to do all these cumbersome double handlings of data and things like that. So yeah, I think particularly being new to a place, you always ask questions like, why do we do that? And quite often there's a very legitimate reason that you can't change. So you're sort of stuck in that way. That's some things are locked in place for, security reasons or whatever they might be. But certainly asking the question so that you do know why that is the way we have to do it, and then finding the most appropriate way to do it. I'm all about trying to do the least amount of work I possibly can, essentially, by making systems do the
making the systems more efficient. We've still got you there, Jack.
Yeah.
Oh, there we go.
I think I might have just half dropped out for a second.
Yeah, and if you can, and that's one of the things I really like about the FME and stuff like that. Create the workbenches, create the automations, and let it do the stuff that's that repetitive stuff, and then let the people be innovative, and come up with the products and stuff like that. But yeah, it is interesting how many people don't ask why, and just accept that that's how they're doing it, or how they've done it forever, and it is. So so from here, what what are the sort of things that you would like to continue doing in your career, or things that you would still like to learn?
Oh, that's a tricky one. The where do you see yourself in 10 years question, whatever it is.
Yes, sort of thing, yeah.
Yeah, I guess one of the things that I enjoyed for a small amount of time was, I guess, I've done a little bit of that kind of like that mentoring, I guess a little bit of career development for other people and things as well. That's sort of, I guess, something that I haven't spent as much time in that space as I would have liked so far. I think I've got some value to add in that area in terms of helping people along. I guess with the training background and being quite good at teaching and along the way, I think that's something quite useful. Where that ends up, I don't really know, but yeah, that's probably somewhere that to sort of get myself into at some stage. At the moment, yeah, hands are very full trying to build stuff in here at the moment. So I think that's one of those ones where it'll be, once that's a smooth running machine, that's probably when I'll start thinking about what I'm going to do next.
Yeah, and I guess as you'll get people come into your team, and then you can start doing some of that mentoring and guiding of those sorts of more junior people, and bring them into what you're doing so they can see that direction forward. Yeah, I really like that, and I do appreciate your time today, even though we had whatever Peter was doing in the middle there.
Yeah, the Peter show. Yep.
Yeah, so I apologise to yourself and others on the call for that. We've got a couple of minutes left before we wrap up the actual time. So if anyone has any questions they would like to ask Jack, you can either put them in the chat, or you can just take yourself off mute and ask that question. Well, I guess I should ask you first, Jack, whether you're happy to take some questions.
Yeah, absolutely. All good. Yeah.
Just put you on the spot there.
Yeah.
But yeah, if anyone has any questions, then please ask. We've got a few minutes left, and but if you don't, then that's okay as well. But I do really like how your career has evolved, over that time, from not really knowing where GIS was really going to take you, at a high school level. Like I started as a cartographer, and if you'd asked me in year 12 what a cartographer was, I would have said I have no idea. And but I did a very similar thing to what you were saying right at the beginning. I got the uni book and I liked geography and I liked drawing, and then I found cartography and I went, oh, that sounds all right. Yep. So sort of it's how I ended up in the industry. But yeah, so if anyone, doesn't look like anyone's got any questions, which is fine. It doesn't have to be a question and answer at the end there. But I do appreciate your time today, Jack, for being involved, and all the best for your continued development in that where you are at the moment for those systems and direction and all those sorts of things. And if we can help in any way, then just let us know.
Yeah, sounds good.
All right. Well, thank you everyone for your time today. There will be the recording. You can watch the Peter show in there as well. And so next week we've got who have we got? We've got Ruby Donaldson from Locus Global, FME reseller from New Zealand and Australia. So she's going to talk about her career. She had a consulting career with One Spatial and is now with Locus Global. So yeah, so join us for that. Tomorrow afternoon we have our normal GIS job seeker chats. So if you want to tune in for that, that's at 4 p.m. Eastern as well. Otherwise, we will see you online or next week on Points, Lines and Polygons. Thank you, Jack. And thank you everyone for tuning in.
Yeah.
Okay, bye for now.
Yeah, it's just the same like I've taken one out there. I've used more material. But basically, it's just no. When you find a card, you that's like 8 or 5 1. Well, flower and it's changed. Not bad. Yeah. Yeah. Like, each of their own. And it's actually not upset me, but yeah, hey, as long as they're working, like, just. Yeah. The yellow folder? Yeah. If not, I'll get you another one. Yeah, that's what's in there. Yeah. Well, right. Oh, yeah. Just basic stuff. The things will check this stuff. Let me with your head. I want to check this thing. Oh, that's wrong. That's wrong. That's wrong. Look, I was wrong. Some people yes, I agree. Look, well, not so much this thing, the top better, because it's pulling up all the time. It's a journey. One of them. I'm just gonna go and try to see if I can get signal. Because I want to just email everything across. I have Peter Butcher 76. Siri, full time. I'm looking for bloody milk in those two story ones. Yeah, just for what did you upstairs? We know that no trees, no full. We have a nice medium and stays very spectral. Yes. Thanks me, what's about? No, they're walking factory. No, there's like sort of all the fetching colours, 3 spheres of different spice. And then the big scale up. So they have actually different spices from jars. I think little things that help. Oh, because that is like what you're using. Okay. Just a time probably so it's looking at the area, probably a strong NGIS. Right. Now, but the thing is, really good people. right, I've got to take another $50 off.
You're up to next door.
Yeah. I'm going to send you an email and it'll show the adjustment.
Okay.
Then this week, when it's a big one. No, we'll get it. Oh, look, there you go. So it wasn't 1400. Because you gave. You know what? Yeah, it's taken off of the, well, Stephen.
Steve.
You got one. That's nice. Or, oh, people there. Information free, Peter.
Relax.
No problem. Enjoy the rest of the day.
I appreciate everything you've done.
Well, no, sorry you had to come back for a, you know.
You reckon that's
Well, it's just made it's hard with products. It's so much.
You would happen to me.
They would have used one that was part of it. It's just. Manufacturer or the delivery or storage or.
Only exposed 3 weeks later.
It'll be fine. It's getting replaced.
All right. Yeah. It's got 10 years for it to prove itself. Okay. Cheers. Thanks, Stephen.
Did I use this?
Here's nice black one. This is the one you're referring to, the Charlie.
Yeah, that's one of these. All right, so there's your folder that keeps you in it, which is and this is you. Or a folder that keeps you in it. Yeah.
Okay, yes, it was when you preferentially use the pair of these company. So it gets like that. Oh, yes, and we use that one for the next bill, the big bill.
Yeah,
Okay, make a point of using it.
yes. Because we're not studying.
Right, okay, well, that's a good idea. Use. Yeah. I agree with it. Here's another thing. I was here something else this morning. Actually, actually done in June. There's $50 for a whole year of near windshield.
I've got a line with your windshield.
And this house we got Saturday, July. This is right from June.
Yeah, geez. Thank you. I don't know. Yeah. Want to come watch the thing with me? I want to watch the end.
Yeah, I will not have tea. I'm not doing it.
Yes, and I'm getting the little spot. Now, how's your brain? Adults?
Hold up. I'll make sure I get this thing off now because that sound has disappeared.
I heard it's not sure, and then nothing happened. And I came out and the guy who could have wandered